I'm Brian Mckeon. Now the World Economic Forum is meeting in Switzerland, and they asked folks to make a video answering the question, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now often people think of education as the key to this. So I went out to some of the local colleges which I've graduated from to ask them the question. And I'm going to use this raw footage to make 12 videos for the World Economic Forum. Hello, I'm Brian Mckeon, and I was a former graduate of LA Trade Technical College. And if you don't know that trade schools have quite a unique way of talking to people about education and the poor. So since trade schools teach the poor, since trade schools typically help the less fortunate, and by teaching them a useful trade, I'll be talking to some students at a trade school that I recently graduated from several years ago about how do we help the poor. Hello, I'm Brian Mckeon, a graduate of LA Trade Technical College. Trade schools have a unique way of helping people by teaching them useful trades. So I'm going to be interviewing a couple of students for the World Economic Forum on how do we help the poor. This is Brian Mckeon reporting for the World Economic Forum. Now, I was a graduate from... Hello, this is Brian Mckeon. I'm at LA Trade Technical College talking to students about trades and stuff like that. And I'm asking one of the students, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? So, sir, how can we help the poor?
I mean, I feel like, by having people, going to school or finding a job or, having something constructive to do. But, I mean, I feel like it's up to us if we want to, do something with our lives, to help the poor. It's only up to us.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers?
I mean, hey, it's hard. It's a hard world out here. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's easy to say that we want to do something with our life, but it takes a lot of strength to get up every morning and or find something to do with our lives. To stay out of the streets and stay away from a lot of bad habits out here.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to the World Economic Forum. This is Brian Mckeon for the World Economic Forum. Now they're asking folks around the world, what can everyone do to help benefit? They're asking everyone, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now essentially what that is how do we help close the gap between the rich and the poor? So I'm with some students at LA Trade Tech, a school that I graduated from years ago, asking them, how do we help the poor?
You guys helping so far by helping us with financial aid, about the paying for our books and stuff, and they help you with your kids, the babies, because you have to go to school and stuff, so they help you get into child care programs. They help you with a lot of programs up here. It's different programs that you can get into that can help you.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers?
I would just like to say I think Trade Tech is a good school, and I think they're helping us out a lot.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon for the World Economic Forum. Now this is Brian Mckeon for the World Economic Forum. Now they're asking folks, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now I'm here with a student at LA Trade Technical College, college that I graduated from, and I'm asking them, how can we help the poor?
I think it would be the best way by giving money to people that don't have anything good. I think especially like on Christmas time, people are going to want something good. I'm thinking like people in Africa and people that really need help, like people that have anything. Like, I think it would be the best way just to give stuff that they never had. Like, I'm talking about clothes, shoes, food and stuff like that. I think that would be the best way. If people donating things to them, I think that would be the best way.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers?
Help the poor people for something that they don't have. Just if you don't want what you don't want, I think that'd be the best way to help out the poor people by giving them stuff that you don't need.
Yeah. So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon reporting for the World Economic Forum. Hello, this is Brian Mckeon talking to the World Economic Forum. Now, they want to know how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now, I'm talking to students at LA Trade Tech because I graduated them there many years ago. So, ma'am, how can we help the poor?
Definitely through education, that is helping us. Like without school funds and programs and stuff that is being extended to students, we're not going to be able to be able to make it educational wise as well. So through the education that we're receiving at Trade Tech, that's going to help us, as well as providing helping Trade Tech to provide funds for the students could also help the poor.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
No, I would just like to say, if you guys could continue to support Trade Tech and many other trade schools, that would help out the poor a lot and people like me who are trying to go to school to better ourselves.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to the folks around the world at the World Economic Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Hello, this is Brian Mckeon, and the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking folks, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now, I'm at Santa Monica College, a college that I graduated at several years ago, and I'm asking the students there, how can we help the poor? So, sir, how can we help the poor?
We can help the poor by giving them free education, or at least affordable education, so that they can have equal opportunity. Because if everyone has access to education, then they know about opportunities, about how they can get out of their current economic situation, and that'll be better for them, because then they'll know that there's other ways, that they don't have to stay poor, and that there are ways to improve themselves. That's what I got.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Not really.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you. This is Brian Mckeon. Now the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking folks, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? So sir, how can we help close the gap between the rich and the poor?
Close the gap between the rich and the poor? I guess you'd have to find a balance between them, find sort of a midterm where you can just balance out, for the rich not to be so rich and the poor not to be so poor. Find a way to tax both the rich and the poor, and find a way for we can limit the amount of people that are unemployed. Like right now we are in a crisis, some would say. Now not so much as before 2 years ago, but in the state, we should try to find more jobs, have more less of this of these what's it called? These people that are just walking around with no jobs, no home, no nothing, unemployed. Exactly. And I think we should just try to find a way in order to help them achieve what they want, which is jobs, which is something that'll help us as an economy. So that's pretty much my opinion on that.
So real quick, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Hi everyone, hi, my name's Rutilio Cruz, and hi Mom, if you're looking, I'm here, I'm studying, I'm getting an education to get us out of where we are now, so hopefully that'll help.
Okay, so in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you. Hello, I'm Brian Mckeon, and at Santa Monica College that I was at several years ago, and I'm talking to students there about economic prosperity. Now, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? So, sir, how can we help the poor benefit from economic prosperity?
Well, I should say we can all help the poor by maybe donating money to charity, and poor can help work, I guess, and that's it.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
To the rich people, poor people need money and stuff, so I guess we should all help out and we're a family, so I guess we should all help.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you. Hello, I'm Brian Mckeon, and the World Economic Forum is meeting in Switzerland, and they're asking folks about how do we close the gap between the rich and the poor. Now, when many people have that subject said to them, they say education. So today I'm going around to my former colleges, because I have 5 two-year degrees, and I'm here at Pasadena College, and I'll be interviewing a few people today about education and how that can help the poor. Hello, this is Brian Mckeon, and the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking people about economic prosperity. Now, often they say education is key. So I'm here talking to some students at Pasadena College that I went to several years ago, and I'm interviewing some of the students there about how can everybody benefit economic prosperity and inclusive growth. So, sir, how can we help close the gap between the rich and the poor?
You know, if it was easier for less fortunate people to get education and to get financial aid to go to school, they'd be able to, you know, make a life for themselves and get a good education so they can get a better job and get more money and be able to be more successful in their life, and then possibly help find other solutions to get people like themselves where they started out and get them back into education and start out, keep the process going, and just get a good education for everyone pretty much.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to our viewers?
Not really. I don't know any of our viewers, so.
Okay. Okay, so in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you. Hello, this is Brian Mckeon reporting to you. Now, the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking, how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth? Now, what essentially that is, how do we help close the gap between the rich and the poor? Now, people often say education is the key, so I went to one of the schools, Pasadena College, which I went to many years ago, and I'm asking some of the students there, how can we help close the gap between the rich and the poor?
I think if more poor people get a better education, they'll have a higher chance of becoming successful and becoming wealthy, and maybe closing the gap between high class and poor class. And I think education is actually really important, because when you get a better education, you learn more stuff, and who doesn't want to be really smart? I like knowing a lot of stuff, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people would know a lot of things. So yeah.
Okay. So, in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
It's important to get a really good education.
So in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you. Hi. Okay, hello, this is Brian Mckeon. Now, the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and they're asking folks about how can everyone benefit from economic prosperity and inclusive growth. So oftentimes people say education is the key, so I'm going to Pasadena College, a school which I graduated from, talking to the students there about how can we help the poor. So ma'am, how can we help close the gap between the rich and the poor?
As long as we are giving the poor the opportunity to go to school, that means you need to provide them with computers. You need to provide them with the books. You need to provide them with the tuition. The education is, I'm a little bit older student, and this is my only means of getting out and doing better for myself. But we need to provide what the basic needs are of a student.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Yes, I'd like for them to figure out a way. I don't know whether it's through, I hate the thought of raising taxes, but we need to maybe put a cap on what the taxes are. We need to let the richer pay a fairer share of their taxes so that the poor can succeed.
Okay, so in closing, this is Brian Mckeon talking to you.